We're gonna get you.
We're
gonna get you.
Darkest greetings, horror and sci-fi and fantasy fans. Drew here for the third week of October, and we're doing one of my favorite horror movie franchises, The Evil Dead. And today we got a couple of guests with us. The first guest is we got the guy that wears the Weyland-Yutani hat backwards, Mr. Eric White. And for our second guest, we got a guy that does a killer Ian McGregor impression, Mr. Jackson Harper. How's it going, guys?
Great. Excited to be here to talk about Evil Dead.
We've been talking about this for months. Like, we knew this was going to happen like 4 months ago. Because as soon as you said, I want to talk about Evil Dead in October, I was like, yes, let me in on that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here we are.
So real quick, I got a couple of questions I'm going to ask all the guests. Halloween related to kind of get us in the Halloween mood and to get our audience in the Halloween mood. Okay. What are some horror movies or just movies in general that you like to watch this time of year in October for the Halloween?
I've always tried to like watch a different horror movie like every day for like 31 days, and I never make it. I always have to miss a day here or there. But I always love, I mean, not to cheat, like I watched The Evil Dead, at least the first two, like every Halloween. And then I always love Return of the Living Dead, Halloween, obviously. Not so many of the sequels. Try to watch The Fly every year.
Goldblum one, right?
The Goldblum one, but also the Vincent Price one. It's great too. It's real cheesy, but it's pretty amazing. But yeah, like a whole plethora of them. Like you basically can go a list, and I've probably watched them or loved them. The Thing, I try to watch The Thing every year around this time because it's about to get cold, but it's not cold enough yet.
What about you, Jackson? What are some movies you like to watch? That's like every year you gotta watch these set of movies.
Yeah. See, I don't have that kind of yearly tradition either. Like, I have also tried to do the 31 movies in 31 days challenge. I've only made it as far as 29.
Oh, that's further than I've ever made it. I made it I made it until 29, and then the last 2 days, like, life took over and I didn't get to watch them. But yeah, Halloween time is always when I'm trying to find movies I haven't seen.
Oh yeah, that's always fun to do.
Yeah, that's when I see the movies that I haven't seen that tend to like stick with me. Like, I remember Halloween 2004 or 5, and I saw Saw for the first time.
Second question, I'll let Jackson go first on this one. So me and Eric last year, we did our top 13 favorite songs to listen to during the month of October. That was a really fun video to do. What are some of your favorite songs to listen to, Mr. Harper?
Well, it's not going to be anything horror related. To me, the autumn is the time to listen to those contemplative songs. So my favorite album for the fall time has got to be, because it sounds very fitting, Counting Crows, August and Everything After.
Oh, love that album. I have it on vinyl.
Yeah. It just sounds like the fall. But I live down in Florida now. Like, we don't have like the falling leaves the same way other places do.
Yeah.
So I miss that.
My favorite record to put on for like Halloween is Return of the Living Dead. It's got the Cramps. It's got like I'm drawing a blank on everyone. Either way, it's an amazing album from like start to finish. You can put it on and just listen to the whole thing. It's the best Halloween record out there, in my opinion.
Speaking of music, as people that watch the Fear God podcast and watched our Del Toro video know that Mr. Jackson Harper does a really good Tom Waits impression, and you have a little surprise for us.
It's not an impression. He joins me here in the studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no,
That's awesome.
That's the whole thing. Like, I just have a lot of famous friends that like to hang around my house. It's not my fault. This is on YouTube, so everyone knows this is live, but that's fine. Here is Tom Waits' rejected theme to the movie Evil Dead 2.
Right, Eric, get ready, Eric. I don't think I'm ready.
Dead by dawn, in this game you are a pawn. Dead by dawn, says the Necronomicon. I don't know why they would reject that. Like, that sounds perfect for the movie.
Well, he also had a rejected theme from Iron Man 2, which you can look up on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Oh, go look it up. Go look up Tom Waits' Iron Man 2.
Okay.
I actually just saw.
It's not me. It's somebody.
Okay,
else.
yeah.
It's really funny.
Well, let's get to why we're all here, and it's on both of me and Eric's shirts. The Evil Dead. Yeah, double horn for that.
No.
That's like so metal.
I've got Thor on right now.
Thor's pretty metal too.
Yeah.
Go around the room a little bit and let's talk about how we discovered the Evil Dead. So since Jackson went last, I'll go with Eric. How did you find about Evil Dead?
I'm like a kid of the 90s, so I first saw Army of Darkness first because it came on TNT during the day on like USA. Right, yeah. And so like I saw it on there and I was just like, what is this movie? It doesn't make any sense. He gets like a chainsaw for a hand. There's like a bunch of like there's a song number with like London Bridges. I'm like, what is going on? And I didn't like till maybe like 2 or 3 years later see like the first Evil Dead. So I was very confused, especially since like all these movies are like they deal in the sort of the same like subject matter and have the same host, but they are all like completely different movies. And if you take them independently of each other.
So Jackson, how did you find out about Evil Dead?
I found out about it in high school because I had a friend who had seen them all and he kept bugging me. He's like, you have to see The Evil Dead. I was like, what's The Evil Dead? And he told me about it a little bit. And then he was like, there's 3 of them though, and you have to see them all 3. And so we rented them and he brought them over to my house and we watched all 3 in one night.
Oh, nice.
So my first exposure to Evil Dead started with Evil Dead and then 4.5 hours later ended with Army of Darkness. And it was a really weird night because like, how do you process that as a teenager? But at the same time, like it was formative in my horror experience, which is why, Drew, I said, if you're going to talk about Evil Dead, I have to talk about this. Because it was like one of my top 3 moments ever as a horror fan.
I think for me, I first found out about it when my mom bought me Spider-Man 1 and 2, the Raimi ones. For my 16th birthday. On the behind the scenes, I kept hearing them talk about Evil Dead. I'm like, what's Evil Dead? And then shortly after that, maybe like a year or 2 later, I saw Cinemassacre Monster Madness episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on Evil Dead. I'm like, this movie looks cool. And then like maybe like another year or 2 later, like after you watched the first Evil Dead, I was just blown away. Like it scared the shit out of me. Like on the monsters like popping out. Anyways, let's talk about some fucking Evil Dead right now. So we're not gonna go beat for beat, obviously. We're just gonna go film through film and just talk about our favorite moments and what we like about them and what makes them so great.
Okay.
So let's talk about the first Evil Dead.
First Evil Dead was shot in Tennessee in like 19. I think they started in 79.
Yeah.
And
they were
so they started. It took them like 4 years to make the first Evil Dead. Like they shot it off and on. That's why there's so many like the monsters don't quite look right from scene to scene. People's hairstyles change between shots. So it took them 4 years, which is kind of a
short film called Into the Woods.
Right. Within the Woods, yeah. Which is a pretty great little short film if you've ever seen it. It's out there on YouTube somewhere. This first one, it's been a minute since I'd seen it, and I forgot how long it takes for like an Evil Dead, like a Deadite to show up, and it's like a full like 35 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Compared to like Evil Dead 2, which is like 5 minutes in, and they're immediately popping up.
This movie
I measured it. It was 7 minutes in that the first Deadite shows up in Evil Dead 2.
They were like,
no,
we're jumping right in.
And that's why I love
when the first Deadite shows up. It's when the plot of the first movie has been concluded in Evil Dead 2. That's
yeah.
7 minutes.
7 minutes.
Well, that's what I love about the first Evil Dead is like I just like the creepiness of it. I love it because it was so low budget.
Oh, super low budget. Like if
Oh yeah,
Army of Darkness is like big budget and like Evil Dead 2 is low budget. This is like DIY, like below budget. Like they spent like a couple $100,000 on this.
I believe $375,000.
Right. Which
I
they
mean,
just
that's
raised
still
from investors.
that's still like 1980 money. So
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but like they just scraped it from a lot of different people.
Yeah, I think they raised it from like.
And this was like the first like before the first like I guess like Hollywood Renaissance in like the late 80s, early 90s was like guys like or Linklater, where it was very much yourself. Like,
I mean, this is where a lot of people cut their teeth too, though. Like one of the Coen brothers helped edit some scenes for this one. Sure. Which is crazy because then they've all been kind of tight ever since then.
But that's what I love about this movie. It's just so creepy. I just love the low budgetness of it, and I love going down to the basement and there's like a poster of like the hill have eyes. It's like a cut along it to indicate like that was real horror back then. Bullshit. This is real horror right now. And then Wes Craven, who directed Hills Have Eyes, showed Heather Langenkamp watching TV.
Right. In Hills Have Eyes, there's a Jaws poster that's torn in half.
Oh.
So Sam Raimi talked about it. He said he thought he interpreted that as like Wes Craven was going like, nah, Jaws, that's not real horror. That's popcorn movies. He's like, this is real horror. And so Sam Raimi's like, I'm gonna tear up a Hills Have Eyes poster. I'm gonna show what real horror is.
Like I just love how like shitty the acting is. It's like classic like 80s, like 70s, like Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th, Halloween type of acting. But
yeah, they're all amateurs. Like they don't know what they're doing. And that's part of the charm of the whole movie is it's just a bunch of, I don't want to say kids because they weren't kids, but
they're 20-somethings though.
I mean, compared to us,
adults.
they're kids.
Sure.
Yeah, young adults. And they're just getting together and making a movie. And the joy of that is apparent. As bleak as the movie is, the joy of making a movie is right there on screen.
So good. I also love the fact that the characters aren't super great to one another. So there's that scene where the one Ash's girlfriend is like trying to get these ESP cards, and like she's just lying to her. The whole
she's just lying,
like straight up, just lying to this lady. And then
I just gotta say,
it's very Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I wonder where Carol Ramis got that joke from.
Right?
But then it pays off because the girl who's been possessed by the Deadite is standing by the window and she's getting all the cards right.
Oh, that was a part that scared the shit out of me right there.
Yeah, like it's a funny scene that turns into a really scary scene.
Yeah, she's like, Ace of Spades, 5 of Diamonds, and then she just turned around like diamonds. So part of the cheesiness I love about this movie is the music. Okay, it's that classic. Bum 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 bum.
Oh, it's not subtle. It's not subtle. But they really want you like. So someone told me this a long time ago. I don't know where they heard it from, but they said that if you don't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of time when you're making something, you deal in like archetypes to like really just like get your audience into it, so you can move past all that stuff and like start telling your story. So like that's what they do. They're just like setting everybody up real soon. They're like, there's gonna be a horror movie. Sit back. It's gonna get real gory soon. Just wait.
And then I love the tape recorder scene, and even watching that scene reminded me of like this, like scenes like the tape recorder scene where somebody is describing something like horrific instead of like showing horrific stuff. That's probably like my favorite horror movie, like archetype or like.
Oh sure.
Yeah, technique.
Yeah, it's very effective when it works. Like Jaws, like we were talking about Spielberg, like scene where Quint is talking about what happened on the USS Indianapolis is the scariest scene in the movie.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, when he's
It would
like
have been cheap.
black eyes, like a doll's eyes, you know, it's like, oh God.
Well, it's kind of like when you're like reading like a horror novel, like what you don't, like your imagination is so much more jacked
Yeah.
what you do, what you see.
And it would have been cheap to do like a flashback there. Like it would have robbed that scene of like its power, I guess.
Right.
If
And
you
it was
did a
pretty cool to see
flashback.
that flashback in Evil
Right.
Dead.
Sure. And that's fun. I mean, basically they do that flashback to set up where the end's going. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Evil Dead 2 who's watching this. But
yeah, and also you just see what happens like to the other characters. Like it's the same thing. So it's not like you miss anything. Like you see what happens. You know, so you can imagine it happened to that guy and his wife too.
Well, he even said that like in order to destroy the Deadites, you have to decapitate people.
Yeah.
Bodiless dismemberment.
Well, yeah, dismember, not just decapitate. You have to take them all apart. So.
Hands, legs, torso, butt, all of it's got to come off.
And then I really like the mirror scene. I thought that was pretty trippy.
Yes, that's cool. That's super cool.
with the hand going into the mirror.
That's like the real Matrix type of shit right there.
Oh yeah, like it took them hours to set that up.
But it's so simple. Like the trick is so simple. Like it's just like put the water on its side and reach into it from above. And yet you see it on screen and it's just like, wow.
And that brings up another thing about like Sam Raimi, especially with these movies. He has a really good sense of like when things to get quiet. So a lot of the movie is very like all three movies are very like bombastic at times, but there are moments where everything just kind of cuts out and it goes silent for a second.
But he also did that like what you were saying with the silent and then like something noisy. He did that with Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2. When, like he's in his office and then like it's silent for a moment and then like tentacles come up and attack him.
Oh, well, that is one of the great Sam Raimi scenes in all of cinema. Like it's amazing. The fact that he pulled off a full horror movie short film in a superhero movie.
Oh yeah, the hospital scene.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Oh, is that not what you were talking about?
No, talking about the part when Dr. Octopus have to go to Harry to basically say, or no, Harry told him to go get Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that hospital scene was amazing. Even more so with the sound and like versus no sound, like.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because the heart rate goes beep 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 beep, and then it stops for a second, and then.
It's great. Yeah, it's an amazing scene.
Dude, the part that like fucked me up during that scene, because I saw that with my dad in the drive-thru, is when like that one nurse chick is like bringing drag with her nails scratching. That part.
Yes.
That part jacked me up. For like
classic Raimi.
And I didn't even know who Raimi was. Like I didn't know what Evil Dead was at the time. That was way too young. That part stuck with me.
I had seen Evil Dead, but I still don't think that I made the connection that this was the same guy at that point in my life. When I figured it out later in life, I was just like, oh, there it is. Okay.
It all makes sense now. Also, I'll say that Bruce Campbell's biggest weakness in this movie is shelves. And if he gets thrown into them, they immediately fall on him and he can't get up for what appears to be minutes at a time. Those boards are so heavy.
That changes throughout the movies, though.
Oh, yeah.
He gets up from so much.
I just don't think Bruce Campbell likes household objects at all. Those deadites being destroyed, that's freaking disgusting when they're like...
Oh, there's so many like amazing sound. Like the part I love about all these movies in general is just the sound design. It's simultaneously over the top and kind of subtle in parts, but those are always the things that stick out to me about it, because there's so many like cheap, low budget horror movies that just have just trash audio, and I feel like they spent like extra time to make this really good.
But that's the thing about it, like everything else in the movie is cheesy, but in like the perfect amount of cheesy, and it kind of reminds me. And I watched the original Salem's Lot recently. Like it's like the perfect that movie is also the perfect type of hokey. It's kind of and this is gonna be a weird explanation. It kind of because I just had Frankenberries for the first time last October. It kind of reminds me of both of these movies. Kind of remind me of Frankenberry.
Okay.
Because it's very cornstarch.
Elaborate.
It's like the right amount, and that's like perfect for October. Kind of like Evil Dead or like Salmon. It's like the perfect type of hoagie.
Okay, I've never had anybody compare an Evil Dead movie to Frankenberry, but now I'm just hungry. Now I just want Frankenberries.
Do you want to talk about anything else about the first Evil Dead before we go into our favorite moment?
I think it takes too long to get going. This is my biggest complaint. I think there's a couple of beats at the top that could be sewn up a little faster, but that's a minor complaint in the whole thing. I mean, overall, especially from the 35-minute mark on, the thing kind of flies. But
I mean, for years, I would have said this was my favorite of the trilogy because it's the most pure horror of the bunch. And I like that about it. It doesn't have that many laughs in it. But as we'll go on to see, laughs is kind of what that franchise needed.
Right.
Honestly,
I mean, there's a lot of unintentional laughs in it sometimes.
That's true too, yeah. I mean, Bruce Campbell is never not going to be funny.
I will say I love this one. I agree. I think this one was my favorite for a very long time because it was made for cheap and it was made in they shot it in Tennessee. And I'm originally from Tennessee and I was like, you can make a movie for no money? I was like, I could make this. And so it was inspiring in some ways.
But I will say that I got to cut one thing from this movie. It would probably be the tracing. There's no point. There's so much the better way to scared.
Yeah.
But what is your favorite moment for talking least favorite moments? Whether to do the opposite.
Shoot. Man, I love that Dutch tilt sequence in the movie. This is sort of lives into more visuals versus just moments itself. But there's a whole sequence where everything is in a Dutch tilt. And it goes from one Dutch tilt to another Dutch tilt.
That was awesome. I don't know how they did that.
His feet coming over the frame and then going above the rafters. I love all that stuff, and that leads into the mirror scene. So all that stuff to me is
that in 1980. That must have been trippy.
Yeah, I don't even know the amount of time it would have taken just to do a sequence like that. I can't imagine most people would go nah, it's not worth it. Let's just shoot. He just stands in the room and he walks to the mirror. It was clearly forethought going into it.
So what's your favorite moment, Jackson?
It's very simple. But the part where she takes the pencil and stabs it into
that was nasty.
The ankle,
the
Achilles tendon, basically, that is, that's just.
I wonder where Stephen King stole that from. Pet Cemetery.
He did. He called this the most. He called this experiencing grueling terror. Stephen King.
Yeah, Stephen King was one of the early champions of this movie. Yeah. So it's understandable why.
My favorite moment is the POV sort of Cheryl in the cellar.
Okay.
They were talking about how crazy your eyes looked, and I was very Rosemary's Baby. Evil Dead 2. Let's talk about
Evil Dead 2.
Which is a fan favorite.
I know. I mean, we were just talking about it, but for the longest time, Evil Dead 1 was my favorite, but watching it again this time, man, it cooks. This movie is up and going and just dispensing of all the things that you would normally expect in a horror movie where they set up character and everything. They're nah, forgetting all that. We're jumping right in. There's a Deadite showing up in 5 minutes and off and running.
They originally wanted to start this movie off with clips from the original movie and then just continue it, but they didn't have the rights to the original Evil Dead. Redo the whole thing.
I mean, I think it works better in a lot of ways. I think if they'd done those clips, it's they boiled the first movie down to just the basics that they needed.
You do feel a lot worse for Ash when he kills his girlfriend in this one.
Right.
I don't know if you guys seen the commentary for this one, but there's this part when he cries over him killing his girlfriend, and then Bruce Campbell says, "And you'll believe that a monster could cry." So making fun of the Superman tagline.
good stuff. Bruce Campbell's a ham.
Yeah.
And this was like the first movie that I think really like leaned into his talents as sort of this leading man-esque, like good-looking dude, but with just ham at heart. Like, we'll do anything for a laugh.
It's the best Nicolas Cage performance that Nicolas Cage never did. Yeah, it's so up that alley, like it's kabuki almost.
Yeah.
We'll get into that when we get to my favorite moment.
I did find it super weird that Ash and Linda are like staying in somebody else's cabin without permission. That's just like weird to me. Like, how do you know this cabin was here?
They just drove up and they saw it and they were like, I guess we got to stay for the night.
Well, no, they set it up in the first scene. Like, they're specifically going to that cabin. We don't know how they learned about the cabin, but like he says the same thing that they say in the first movie. It's like, it's probably a little worn down, but it's right up in the mountains.
Right. And they get there and they see all the stuff that's already there. And they're like, what if the owners come back?
Yeah.
And they're like, don't worry about it. We'll tell the car broke down.
I mean, we get to see Dr. Nobi finding the book. And then we got a little more, with him, with his daughter. I thought that was pretty, that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. This is sort of a dislike in the movie. I didn't like how Ash finds the Necronomicon in a random room that house to the basement. Because the basement in the first one was so much creepier.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But I mean, this is also economics of like filmmaking.
Yeah, it's
like
just saving time.
Instead of him going to the basement, they're just like, found it up top, turn the thing on, then I take Linda. That's it. Moving on.
And even though this movie's more funnier than the last Evil Dead, I just gotta say that Linda dancing in the dead is extremely disturbing and unnerving.
You know, her head spins and it's
God.
Her head stays the same place and her body spins. I love
it was stop motion or whatever. Like that's what about it.
The creepy part to me is not the stop motion part, but it's when she like pops up out of the window after that and like clearly like just decayed down here, but the top of her head looks like perfectly normal.
Oh yeah, I like the part where like the propagated head like lands on Mass's lap. He just said, "Hello, lover."
Oh yeah.
That's the beauty of this movie, though, is every single little set piece leads perfectly into the next one. He has to kill Linda, and then he sees her dancing decayed in the woods, and then she comes to the window and she breaks into the house, and then he cuts her head off and she comes back into the house with the chainsaw, and he has to
I love that part when she comes into the shed with the
chainsaw. She doesn't have the chainsaw, but no, you know what I mean. Like everything leads into the next thing so perfectly, and there's a long stretch of that movie where it's just Ash in the house.
Yeah.
He has to cut off his own hand, and then he has to fight his own hand and like shoot at it through the wall.
It's hard to pick like a favorite moment in the first like 40 minutes because everything, you're right, like everything just rolls right into the next thing. So like one gag just builds into another gag, just builds into another gag. It's like a steamroller.
It's amazing.
I think when recommending like the Evil Dead trilogy to somebody, if they just want to watch one movie, I can recommend each one of these movies based off of different things. If you want pure horror, but like low budget, like gritty, small, or scale horror, the first Evil Dead. If you want like it's a batshit crazy, like Alice in Wonderland meets like Three Stooges, like
some
newest Evil Dead
quacking monsters. Yeah.
And if you want like something not as gory but still just said batshit crazy, like Army of Darkness, because that's like Three Stooges as well meets like Monty Python meets like Harryhausen. Like that part in I know we're not talking about it right now, but that part in Army of Darkness when like the skeleton's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. That's very that is very Monty Python.
All the skeleton bits in Army of Darkness kill. Like all their like little asides.
We'll get there, but the skeletons are my
and I love skeletons.
That
and that's like one of my favorite parts of Multiverse of Madness is the skeleton bats. I just got a question about Evil Dead 2. Why in the world when Ash chops up Ed, why is it green? Why is the blood green?
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
It is fun. I just don't get it logically.
But it goes back to like Evil Dead 1 too. So sometimes they spew black, sometimes they spew milk, sometimes they spew blood. So technically, once a deadite takes hold of a body, it can transform the molecular
Hold on a
molecules
second.
within it.
Hold on a second, Eric. Spilling milk everywhere. In a crazy horror movie. Wonder where they got that from? Ridley Scott, Alien.
But yeah, no, like I mean, that was the reason for it in the original one was because they were afraid they were going to get an NC-17 or an X back then, and so they were like, we'll switch it up so it won't be blood all the time. And then they got an X rating anyway. This one comes with a warning at the top, which is like warning if you know don't watch it if you're afraid of gore. But yeah, this was released unrated when it came out.
I know this is gonna be super blasphemous. This is my least favorite of the Evil Dead trilogy. To me, it's a more cleaned up version of like the first one. It's crazier, so I think it's better in that way to a certain extent. I just love the low budgetness of the first one, in my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, I would make the argument that any Evil Dead movie is a good Evil Dead movie. Like any of the Evil Deads, it's like you can't go wrong at any point. So like one being your least favorite, it's like saying like, oh, I don't like this kind of coffee, but I'll still drink it because it's coffee. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that is probably my least favorite aspect if we're gonna go there right now.
Coffee?
No, the fact that it's more of a
Evil Dead
version of the first one.
Sure.
Do you have any favorite moments or aspects
of this movie?
Yeah.
Oh no, this movie's perfect.
I have no gripes against this movie. This is my favorite of the three.
What is your favorite part?
Anything with Bruce Campbell at the top. But really like the laughing scene is the one that I love the most. And it's just that where he's like he like bounces with the lamp and then dies laughing when they stop together.
I don't have a moment that can top that. There's something about that whole sequence with Bruce Campbell because it's basically just him acting with himself.
Like you looted his shit in that
almost half the movie.
Oh yeah, no, like that first 40 minutes.
Yeah,
perfect. It's perfect. It's a perfect movie.
Yeah. What's your favorite moment, Jackson?
I'm gonna go with I really like the scene where he takes down the Evil Dead corpse of Linda.
Okay.
Like she bursts into the garage with with no head, and he has to take the chainsaw off the shelf where there's like a chainsaw marking on the shelf in chalk.
They'll let you know that there was a chainsaw once there.
Yeah. And he has to like saw her body in half from the top down, and you just see it in shadow, and you just see blood like splash on the light bulb.
My favorite part, I just gotta say, I have a favorite moment in my top 13 horror movie moments that I did with Reed from Fear of God. So I don't want to say that as my favorite moment.
Okay.
Because I want to save it.
Okay.
To keep that in mind, that might come in handy. But so my second favorite moment is when Evil Ass is talking to Good Ass through the mirror. I love Evil Ass. I think Evil Ass is amazing. I love the whole duality kind of aspect.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And it sets him up for like the third movie too, like in this one.
Yeah.
And it's a nice play off like the first movie where he puts his hand in the mirror.
And also, you don't see it coming. Like you see them in the mirror, and then all of a sudden he reaches out of the mirror and grabs him. It's like it's very surprising.
And it's a great gag.
What's the award show where it's like for like horror and sci-fi, like the Saturn Awards? That didn't exist back when this came out. Because I was gonna say that like Bruce Campbell should have been nominated for a Saturn for this movie.
Oh yeah, easily should have won. Should have been nominated and won.
But this dude's like freaking like reverse hand acting.
It's amazing that Bruce Campbell isn't more popular than he is. You know what I mean? Like he kind of has it all going for him. Like he's a good looking dude to begin with.
Deuce should have played Sully in the Uncharted movie instead of like Marky Mark.
Yeah.
What the hell, Sony? Come on. I love Marky Mark, but he wasn't Sully at all.
You should go back in and deep fake Bruce Campbell into that movie.
Yeah, that would have been
replace
awesome.
Marky Mark's face with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. I just love the whole Evil Dead ass thing, and then he becomes the skeleton dude in the next one. With speaking of Army of Darkness, let's talk about Army of Darkness.
Yay!
Okay.
The score is amazing in Army of Darkness.
Yeah, it was
the score, which was done by Danny Elfman, right? Did Danny Elfman do the score for Army of Darkness?
Did he?
I don't know. I'm gonna look that up. You guys keep talking.
I'm pretty sure. I think Danny Elfman did the score for Army of Darkness, and Danny Elfman is now married to Bridget Fonda, who is the Linda in the beginning of this movie.
Which I didn't know that. He did the music for Simple Plan.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
It's very different kind of music for him. Like it doesn't sound like Danny Elfman. Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure he did the score for Darkman as well. Which kind of sounds a lot like
he did the
Batman.
Spider-Man movies as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, him and Raimi had like a fallout in Spider-Man.
Oh no. Probably because he was going to make Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, he
oh boy.
I actually like Spider-Man 3, to be honest with you guys.
I saw it in theaters and just was like, ooh, no.
So
I liked it the first time I saw it, but not the second time I saw it.
So it was not Danny Elfman. It was Joseph Dexa.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I was mistaken. But either way, this score is used, I'm pretty sure, in like tons of like trailers. For any time they need something medieval, they use like snippets of this and like everything.
Yeah, that and like they used to use the Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula theme a lot.
Well, and then for a while it was the Requiem for a Dream music. They used that a lot.
Yeah.
That was in so many trailers after that.
I just gotta say that the whole like Evil Dead series is pretty metal, but this is like the most metal out of all the Evil Dead movies because it's like a medieval time. It was more metal than that.
You mean the medieval Dead?
Well, what I love about it is, again, it just completely disregards the continuity of the other movies. As soon as it starts, it disregards it because you see in Evil Dead 2, he lands in medieval times. A Deadite comes flying in, he shoots it, and they all like bow down and shout for him. And he's like, no. But in the third movie, like that doesn't happen at all.
No.
Like immediately he's just taken into shackles and brought into the city. Like
that's why I love about Evil Dead.
What happened at the end of Evil Dead 2 does not matter.
That's why I love about Evil Dead is like they keep retelling this poor guy's story about like how all this stuff happened.
Oh yeah.
But what's really interesting was when I was first discovering like Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, I remember when I first started getting into horror movies, the first year I really got into horror movies, I would have recorded the original Halloween off of AMC on DVR.
Okay.
So like you know how like when you record something off the DVR, you get like a little bit of like the laughter that was recorded because it runs over.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. Hail, hail, hail. What is this? Is this a horror movie? And it was Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2. Classic. But yeah, I mean, basically these movies are an excuse for Sam Raimi to torture Bruce Campbell for 90 minutes.
I don't know what there is to say about this movie. Like,
it's fun. It's a fun movie.
It's really fun. It's also, I will say, it's my least favorite of the three.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back and forth between this one and the original one, especially after watching it again.
This one is more full on like cartoon compared to like the other ones. Yeah, like there are just
I'm a big cartoon guy. Like I love cartoons.
Oh, that's fair. And I think it works most of the time, but then there's some bits like the Gulliver's Travel sequence with like all the little ashes. I'm just I don't know. Like just some they're trying new stuff, and I will never fault them for like trying new things. But they're just moments I'm just like I don't know. Like them singing London Bridges like on each other's shoulders. Like, what is going on?
That's one of my absolute favorite moments in the movie for some reason. There's something about it. My fair lady, like swinging their arms, and I like it's so stupid and so silly, and I kind of love it.
Yeah, but you gotta think that Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are big Three Stooges fan, but one of my favorite comedic bits.
Same.
One of my favorite comedic bits in any of the Evil Dead is the windmill scene. I think that is so funny. Like when his mouth is like all messed up,
right?
And then like him and Evil Act are both laughing, and he like sticks the shotgun up his nose.
Little goody two shoes.
You're little goody two shoes. You're little goody two shoes.
I guess if we're talking about favorite moments from the movie, I think my favorite moment on this most recent viewing was when the Army of Darkness is approaching the castle, and you see like all the skeleton like musicians, and they're like playing the skull drums, and one of them has like a bone flute that he's playing.
One of them had bagpipes, doesn't he?
Yeah. That's like the last one. Any of the stuff with the skeletons at the end of the movie is like
I love the
pure gold. Pure gold.
with the bagpipe skeleton, was that the ghost of William Wallace? Maybe.
He had a beard though, so I don't know.
They can take our skins, but can never take our freedom. These are different from like Ray Harryhausen skeletons. I feel like those were like more somewhat realistic. These are more like a little kid made these.
Oh sure. Yeah, they're literally throwing like puppets at him, like just inanimate like skeleton puppets at him at one point. He's just like breaking them over his knee. So good.
Yeah, and I feel like this is like the one like rated R movie that a little kid could watch. Because there's really not a lot.
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, it's not that crazy. Like, there's the geyser of blood at the beginning, but then after that, it doesn't get too like gory or anything.
Oh, yeah. So before we go any further, I just gotta say, this permanent screwhead is my boomstick.
Stick. This is the movie that is probably the most quotable of all of them. Like, there's so many good, just like one-off lines.
Oh, well, you know what my favorite line is, Eric? Oh, Mr. Fancy Pants. You're only leading but two things right now: Jack and Jack left town.
Good.
Like, that's like so I think some of the best movie lines is something you can use in any scenario. So like, so you're at like you're talking like Christmas presents for somebody, and he said, "Well, the only thing you're getting for Christmas is Jack and shit, and Jack left town."
Jack left town.
I think what you get from this movie is the evolution of Bruce Campbell as an actor. Like, you start with Evil Dead, where he's just like the normal guy who happens to survive to the end of the movie. And then in the second movie, you get this virtuosic performance of him like in the house by himself, fighting with himself the whole time. And then by this movie, you have Bruce Campbell, who we know him as today.
Yeah.
Like, he's that like cocky guy with the one-liner and the big chin. But it also like, it speaks to Ash as a character, because these evil forces have put him through the ringer so much that he has no choice but to become this ridiculous person.
And that's just like
that's just how he's coping at this point.
That's just classic horror right there. That's like, you know, Ripley from Alien, that's Sydney from Scream. Like, I know this is not a horror movie, but like, it's like John McClane from Die Hard. Like, these people cannot break. Like, John Wick's another one. Like, leave these people alone, man.
I mean, it's really great to watch them like back to back to back. I hadn't watched them all like in a row in a while. And you're right, like to see the evolution of like Bruce Campbell through these movies is pretty amazing. Like, he basically became the person that he is in every other movie from now on, like after this movie.
To go down a little bit of a Bruce Campbell rabbit hole, y'all have seen Bubba Hotep, right?
Oh my God.
I mean, talk about Bruce Campbell like showing what he can do as an actor. Wow.
Least favorite moment?
Ooh, I don't really have like a least favorite moment. I think they're just like parts that like go on for too long for me. I wanted something else to happen to him versus him just like finding the books. Like, I always just anticipated more medieval gags out there, but they never get to him. But I mean, highlight for me is like bone sequence through the end. So like anytime those skeletons start showing up like through the end of the movie is like game on.
Were you saying like more with like medieval jokes? Like Bruce Campbell, he's in a lot of like period like stuff. Like this was like the decade of like Raimi, like Campbell,
Hercules, Xena, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Bosco Kid or whatever that one.
Briscoe County Jr.
Yeah.
I was all in on Briscoe County Jr.
So what's your least favorite moment, Jackson, if you have one?
I don't have one.
I don't have one either. We don't. Say.
This is not an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Like,
we're not gonna pick it apart.
Where it's just like, oh, there was that one part that was just like. It's not like that. It's like everything's good in this movie. This might be my least favorite of the trilogy, but it's still like a 7 out of 10.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's go favorite moment. Start with you, Jackson.
Well, I told you it's
it's
the skeleton band, like with the flute and everything. Like, yeah. But my other favorite moment is My Fair Lady.
What about you, Eric? What's your favorite part?
I mean, skeletons, any of the skeleton bits. But I also love I love transforming the car into that giant windmill thing, and Bruce Campbell just yelling and shoving it into like overdrive always makes me laugh.
Talk about yelling, Mad Max,
right?
My favorite part, I mean, it's so obvious, but it's the Hail to the King, baby. Well, I just love how like they kind of tie that whole scene together when you showing him work at the S Smart.
Shop S Smart.
Yeah. And then we see him talk to Ted Raimi's character about his whole experience as his stalking the selves. And then that really like hot chick is comes up to him and he's like, hey, I thought your story was kind of cute. And then like when the Deadites somehow comes back for whatever reason.
Yeah, all that whole sequence is great, which is different from like the original ending for the movie. I don't know if y'all watched the version that they originally wanted to make.
I've never seen the other cuts of the movie. Yeah,
it's very like Bruce Campbell is always getting like crapped on throughout all these movies, and so I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but you should watch it. Like it feels very in line with the character, but I think this one is more of a heroic send everybody home on a good feeling note.
Yeah, I like the Hail to the King maybe because like in the last one it ends on a dour and you have like that can like be happy. You get the hot chick at the end.
He's finally happy after all these times.
Let's shout out to Angela Featherstone, who plays the woman at the end. She was the copy place girl in Friends. Oh. She was also Adam Sandler's ex-girlfriend in The Wedding Singer.
Yep.
I've never seen Ready Singer.
Playing a character named Linda, weirdly enough.
If there's any last thing you want to say about Evil Dead before we wrap this video up?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, first off, Evil Dead's amazing, and you should watch all 3 of them. That you'll never be disappointed with an Evil Dead movie. Like if you, depending on what you want, like you were saying earlier, like depending on what mood you're in, if you want to see a more horror one or a comedy or a cartoon, there's something for all tastes. And you know, it's a movie that I've grown up on, and I watch it like every year. It's great.
Yeah, I even watched like Evil Dead 2 like twice this year. Once to get ready for Multiverse of Madness, and then for this. And I was just entertained both times.
The movie that ages like a fine wine. It just gets better and better with age.
I do want to talk about the 2013 remake, reboot, reimagining, whatever you want to call it. Just for a minute, like I won't tell you anything because you haven't seen it, but it is worth watching. Because they take the idea of here's this setting, here's this premise. Can we take it farther and darker and more horrifically than the original? You know, they don't go into the continuity of the series, which is basically non-existent anyway. Like they just take the original premise and they do something different with it. And it's cool. And it's really, really disping. And it's got the coolest chainsaw kill I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh my god! Okay, I'm watching it after this. I'm totally watching after this.
Yeah, like you were saying, it is a it's if they made the first movie a straight horror movie versus like being kind of cheesy or kind of black comedy funny times. This one is like straight up a violent, horrific movie. I'll tell you what, you get off of here, you turn the lights down low, and you just turn up Evil Dead 2013.
I've been Drew from Horror, Sci-Fi, and Beyond. Hope you have a really fun and safe October. Next week we got Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which is probably one of the best Halloween sequels, in my opinion.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
I mean, 18's pretty good. It's really good. Hey, Future Drew here. I made a mistake. The next review coming out next week after this is not Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. It's actually Nightmare Before Christmas. But if you like this video, thumbs it up, share it with your friends. Make sure you slap that subscribe button at the bottom or wherever it is. And you guys have a good night. Over and out. Bye. And
one more thing.
What?
One more thing. Happy Halloween.
Jesus Christ. Stay groovy, everybody. Bye.